That's another thing that we're doing to men that's a very bad idea, and to boys. You're pathological and oppressive. Fine then, why the hell am I going to play? If that's the situation, if I get no credit for bearing responsibility, could bloody well be sure I'm not going to bear any. But then, you know, your life is useless and meaningless, and you're full of self-contempt and nihilism, and that's not good. That's what I think's going on at a deeper level with regards to men needing this direction. A man has to decide that he's going to do something. He has to decide that.
I think that the black community does actually need strong nuclear families, but not because we're black, but because that's the natural order.
Amen.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife, child. And that's the natural order. And it would have been better for me to be in God's order to have a mother and a father to raise me. And that's just what it is. You know, the effect that it's had, we've had women for generations now saying that they don't need a man, and we have boys that don't want to be one.
If I get no credit for bearing responsibility, could bloody well be sure I'm not going to bear any.
A man who is holding down a menial job and thereby supporting a wife and children is doing something authentically important with his life. He should take deep satisfaction from that and be praised by his community for doing so. If that same man lives under a system that says the children of the woman he sleeps with will be taken care of whether or not he contributes, then that status goes away. Taking the trouble out of life strips people of major ways in which human beings look back on their lives and say, I made a difference. Raising a family, supporting yourself, being a good friend and a good neighbor, learning what you can do well and then doing it as well as you possibly can, providing the best possible framework for doing those things is what the American Project is all about. When I say that the American Project is in danger, that's the nature of the loss I have in mind, the loss of the framework through which people can best pursue happiness.
Who's to say that the boy can have your way or mine? Why not let him decide?
No, I'm afraid it don't work that way. You can't let a young'un decide for himself. He'll grab at the first flashy thing with shiny ribbons on it. Then when he finds out there's a hook in it, it's too late. Wrong ideas come packaged with so much glitter, it's hard to convince them that other things might be better in the long run. All a parent can do is say, wait, trust me. Try to keep temptation away.
It would have been better for me to be in God's order to have a mother and a father to raise me. And that's just what it is. You know, the effect that it's had, we've had women for generations now saying that they don't need a man, and we have boys that don't want to be one.
If that's the situation,
If I get no credit for bearing responsibility, I'm not going to bear any.
Men need to, quote, grow the hell up. Tell me why.
Well, because there's nothing uglier than an old infant. There's nothing good about it. People who don't grow up don't find the sort of meaning in their life that sustains them through difficult times, and they're certain to encounter difficult times. And they're left bitter and resentful and without purpose and adrift and hostile and vengeful and arrogant and deceitful and of no use to themselves and of no use to anyone else, and no partner for a woman, and there's nothing in it that's good.
Crisis of masculinity. I mean, what do you do about it?
You help people understand why it's necessary and important for them to grow up and adopt responsibility. Why that isn't a shake your finger and get your act together sort of thing. Why it's more like a delineation of the kind of destiny that makes life worth living. What I've been telling young men is that there's an actual reason why they need to grow up, which is that they have something to offer. You know, that people have within them this capacity to set the world straight, and that's necessary to manifest in the world. And that also doing so is where you find the meaning that sustains you in life.
So what's gone wrong then?
I don't think that young men hear words of encouragement. Some of them never in their entire lives, as far as I can tell. That's what they tell me. And young men are starving for this sort of message. You know, they're not being taught that it's important to develop yourself.
What's in it for the women, though?
Well, what sort of partner do you want? And that
So
you
you're
can
saying
rely on.
women have some sort of duty to sort of help fix the crisis of masculinity?
It depends on what they want. Women deeply want men who are competent and powerful And I don't mean power in that they can exert tyrannical control over others. That's not power. That's just corruption. Power is competence. And why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Well, I know why, actually. You can't dominate a competent partner.
And so it's supposed to be God, husband, wife, child. And that's the natural order.
I don't think that young men hear words of encouragement. Some of them never in their entire lives. As far young men are starving for this sort of message. Women deeply want men who are competent and powerful. Power is competence. And why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Do you want an overgrown child? Or do you want someone to contend with that's going to help you? I don't think that young men hear words of encouragement.